Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Volvo 480 and I think some of the jobs to do at the moment are to try and put it back together because inside things are a little bit messy. Let's take a look and I'll show you what I'm planning on doing. So here we go, the last time we've been doing work on the car I've had the dashboard apart, so you can see at the moment most of the dashboard fascia is off, the panels are off, the lower parts are off. There's lots of things that are generally a bit kind of thrown all over in the car, but the good news is with it's starting to get nicer weather. So the first thing is to look at the dashboard and the instrument cluster. Now you can see the dashboard fascia is all off, which means we can get the instrument cluster. Okay, so what you've got is this, which is the info center control. That sits around about here in the dashboard normally. That, if you've got the surround off, you can take in one go, because you cannot disconnect it at the back, it's directly wired in. So all you've got at the back of the instrument cluster, you've got 1, 2, and actually just a little push third connector. Now these, you squeeze the bottom and you tease them out. If you can see the connector here, it's one of these where there's a small push clip on the bottom. Just press that and your whole instrument cluster comes out in one go like that. Now that that's out, you can see the rest of where the instrument panel goes. You've got your light control down here. Now this module unscrews and you can take that out. This is where your heated rear windows and screen fittings go, just along here. And the rest of it are all part of the fascia. So I'm going to start putting things back together. Now, to put things in, I have to put the instrument cluster in first and fit things around it, because eventually this main casing that you can see sat up here pushes on over everything and screws into place. There you can see that slide slid into place, and if we go to the other, you can just about make out the 2 screws that fit in, and that holds it in place. Now you can see, hopefully you can see, the instrument cluster does actually sit quite a long way back in the dashboard, so you've got to make sure that it fits right the way back there. Now a simple one, you'll see that I've got it fitted at the moment, but this light cluster here actually just pulls out on a connector. Let's just take you in and I'll show you. So that just comes out. So be aware though, if you pull it from the very end, the end will actually come off, so you want to be pulling it from the main body. That comes off as well because you need to fit that through the fascia. So now that that's out and that we've got the main instrument in, we can get the dashboard surround in. a couple of pieces to pay attention to. You've got the alarm light to clip in. We've got our heater blower controls, which are the two connectors. Remember to plug your clock back in, info center and the connector at the back, and double indicators. Now, something that I did also find, make sure these controls slide before you fasten everything back up. There are some mechanical elements behind here that can get stuck if you don't get it quite in place. Over on the other side here, make sure we're all in place and you've got the two screw holes to fasten in. There we go, that's pushed back into place. You can see I've screwed in the top screw. There should be a bottom one. Unfortunately, my dashboard has lots of these that are missing. There's one that you screw in just under here and another one here. Unfortunately, those have all snapped, so there isn't an awful lot holding it together, but it should be okay. So now into here, what you've got is this connector and switch. Now, the thing to look for is corrosion on some of these that would cause them not to operate correctly. You can see some corrosion there, so a little bit of light wire brushing and cleaning will help those out before we put them back in. And then once they're clean, just put them back in like this. Just top and bottom, line them up and slide them in. Now, to remove them, there's this little hole here. What you do is just put a thin screwdriver in there, press gently, and it releases the tab and it lets them come out. But there you can see they're in nice and securely, and that's that done. Now that the dashboard's back in place, next parts are the fuse box and assembly, and also the ECU. Now the ECU, which is the injection controller on this car, is tucked up here in the metal casing, which you'll be able to see from previous videos. So what I want to do is I want to put this back together, put the fuse box cover back on, and get this panel fastened back into place. Now this is a little bit tricky. From the fuse box cover, two screws either side here, cables, there's various cable clips up inside, so I'm going to clip those back on and fasten this back in place. That should only take a few minutes to sort. So that's the fuse box back in place. I need cable ties to hold those in place. A quick tip for you with the fuse box, there's two screws either side of it. Don't take them out. It is very difficult to take that out. I've also managed to snap a plastic clip in doing so, which is unfortunate because it means that this part is hanging down at the moment, so I need to redo a clip inside here to hold this further up, so that's a little bit disappointing. The next major problem is the door doesn't close or doesn't hold open properly, because you can see the mechanism is actually free floating at the moment. The bolts aren't in. So what I'll do is I'll find a bolt that will fit into here and fasten that back in so the door mechanism will hold shut. And then we need to look at the window, the electric window mechanism, as this is pretty badly damaged. So I'll take you through the window mechanism once I've fixed the door. Can see the problem here. So what you'd have is you'd have one bolt in the top, and you can see the bolt in the bottom is actually still in place, and the inside where it screws to is actually there. So what's happened is on the inside it's actually pulled away from the metal shell of the door on the inside. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but at the top and the bottom you've got a bit of rust and it's ripped away, so it looks like the door's been ripped open with such force at some point that it's pulled this mechanism out of place. So I'm not quite sure how to fix this one yet, because trying to get inside there to weld, it's a very restricted area. So I think what we need to do is take the door mechanism off, which you can see you take it off by taking the outside part and then this pin out, and we can remove it and at least have that clear rather than dangling. But that's not good news. I was hoping for better news, just to fasten it back together. So that's a little bit disappointing for our driver door. And the final bit to look at is this is the electric window mechanism. Now you can see you've got the motor with a 2-pin connector that drives this gear round, and it should pull a wire round this pulley up and attach it to this mechanism here, which the window will sit on and will move up and down like so. Again, another wire pulley going back to the motor. Now you can see the wire has snapped here, so I think what we can do is we can test the motor out, make sure that the motor does actually operate, and if it does, then get a wire and we'll just repair it using our own piece of wire. So we'll take that into the bench and we'll see what we can do. To test the motor is very straightforward. All I've got is a couple of wires connected to a car battery, and what I'm going to do is connect one up to one side, touch the other onto the other, and what we should get is the motor spinning. Now if it doesn't spin, then chances are it's the motor that's damaged. Remember, one way round it'll go one way, other way round it'll go the other. So you can see what I'm doing here, just connecting the wires in to the back of the connector, because then they are shielded from each other. You don't want to short these out, because I've got this going straight to a battery and we don't particularly want a short or anything like that happening. So there we go, there's a couple of wires connected up that will just hold it together. There you can see the motor's running quite freely in one direction. Now if I change the positive and the negative round on the battery, just do that now, and there we have the motor running the other direction as well. So that's good. So we know that the motor is all fine for our window. So what we need to do is get some cable, attach it to the runner here and run it round and create a constant loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a diagram of how this should be laid out with the wire to make sure it's correct. Something I have noticed is it is on a curve as well. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be or not, so I think looking up the part online to get a comparison should help us. Otherwise folks, that's all we're doing for now on the Volvo 480. Going to try and do a little bit more progress a few days in a row here. So this is getting a few of the parts inside it ready. I think what we want to do is take a look underneath as well, so we might get it on the ramps, take a look. So remember, if you want to see some more, please hit the subscribe and the bell button, and of course pop some comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, and if there's anything you want me to show you on the Volvo 480. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.